What's up guys? So recently I made a video, kind of a meme video that was mostly meant for the people who had been asking for it a lot. I never expected much out of it and I thought, hey, might as well do it for those who are curious and I could do this while I had my poll going on. That said video is now my most viewed video with over 200,000 views. I don't even know how that happened as I don't even have 20,000 subscribers right now. Regardless, I had countless people ask me to do the same thing for the E3 world premiere trailer. So I thought I might as well, considering how many of you guys enjoyed the last one. If you haven't seen the full trailer of this beforehand, I'll link it down below in the description so that you can watch it in full, as we're going to be skipping around and you won't get the full viewing experience here. So it starts off with our knights who are presumably readying themselves from within their castle walls. It's also our favorite returning hero, Conchbringer Warden. This time though, Conchbringer left his flail at home in exchange for an arming sword. I'm assuming this is due to it all being concept material here, but maybe once upon a time we had the ability to truly mix and match weapons and armor to create our own heroes. Also, our warden here has an actual feather plume coming from the top of his helmet, something that I've been asking for a very long time now. We can see a few other people in the background as well, including an officer from the looks of it, with an arming sword and shield as well. I don't know if they wanted to portray him as a player here or what, but as we pan out, he seems to be the only officer here. I've always liked the officer helmet, which is a form of early enclosed helmet, which itself is a type of early great helm. You can see more on that in my Conquer analysis where I talk about those helmets in depth. We then pan out to see what is presumably minions. These minions look pretty cool when they don't have bright orange or blue team colors on them. We can also see that they aren't copy-pasted entirely. There are multiple types of weapons and armors mixed into the bunch with them. We then have a pretty cool transition that shows the Vikings trying to break into the Knight's Keep. It goes by really quickly, but here we can see the early onset images of the infamous Viking leather armor. But we also see a lot of really cool things like a Viking with a visored Spangenhelm. We then also see what looks like a warlord with two axes like a berserker. Again, more stuff that I'm assuming is just concept stuff or an early idea that never came to the full game. So while our main Viking guy here is hyperventilating in the middle of a battlefield here, just trying to hype himself up, his Viking bros trying to tell him that they're getting flanked. It appears the knights have sallied outside their walls to take the Vikings head on. In most cases, that would be a bad idea because the walls keep you safe for the most part while you can still send projectiles at the enemy. But since they were able to sneak up on the Vikings somehow, this actually isn't a bad thing since they can open the doors and pincer the remaining Viking forces. If they were to open the doors, that is. Anyways, quick cut to some real anime stuff now. We have Orochi in metal armor. I know some samurai fans have to try to contain their rage here. This entire scene goes by way too fast, but it essentially starts with Orochi's deflect, which I can do an entire rant on in of itself, but I'll save that for whenever I get to an actual Orochi video. And then he slashes a warden right through his chainmail. Of course, like a mystical 3000-fold Nippon steel blade is supposed to do. Then the Orochi does an edge-to-edge parry here. Now, most people don't realize that not all swords are equal. Unlike a European sword that has the entire blade as a mono temper, most Japanese swords have a separate type of tempering where the edge of the blade is hardened and the spine stays soft. There's an entire reasoning behind that, and I'll get into it if I ever do a samurai analysis, but in short, that is why you see katanas and swords with that hamon line on the edges, and why katanas are notoriously known for their excellent edge retention. Of course, that comes as a trade-off like everything. In some cases, with this differential heat treating, the edge can be so hard that they become brittle. Straight edge parries like this Orochi is doing could have a high chance of instantly destroying his sword, especially if it's not made of the highest quality of steel, which is the entire reason why Tamahagane was even made. I understand why they do things like this for gameplay reasons though. Anyways, he then uses his lightsaber to slice right through a plate cuirass next. Hopefully by the end of the video we'll see him cut through an entire battleship. We then see him stab a minion in the throat, which I believe is very similar to one of the old minion killing animations. Credit where credit is due, that is a very good animation for that technique. Next, he does a parry where he sidesteps an entire attack, and while his opponent's weapon is on the floor, he does the next logical thing, which is just slap the opponent's weapon again. I have no idea what the reasoning was behind this, but he missed a perfect chance to end his opponent. We then get a seamless transition into the knights fighting the Vikings. Here we have a warden with Conch's weapons, very similar to the original For Honor cover art. Anyways, he's almost clapped by a warlord wielding a raider's axe, but then he's not. This entire scene here is weird because it looks like everyone is just bumbling about and not actually trying to kill each other. Doesn't matter because it then transitions onto a hilltop where we finally have a normal warlord, but he's fighting what looks like an Orochi with the Nobushi's Naginata. Not going to get on my armor rant here, but this just brings it out of me. Ubisoft, Please let us use armors from other heroes. It's already in the game. You've already mixed some armors with some of the newer heroes. Just let me have the option to have a fully armored Nobushi or Aramusha if I want, goddammit. Anyways, back to this Oroshi, Noburochi. Regardless, they are way too close to be using this pole arm like this. Even the in-game Nobushi understands that distance is their ally when fighting with this kind of weapon. The fool in this scenario here is getting so close to this warlord they can almost see what he had for breakfast. Noburochi promptly dies for being in the range of the warlord's sword. The next following scenes just takes us through a few landscapes which look really good in my opinion, and I think that they successfully matched this vision with the in-game product we have now. The next fight I have already talked about in my original Warden analysis oh so long ago. I still recommend watching that for the full version of it because everything just moves so fast and there's a lot to take in. That being said, there is one part that I will touch on again for this, and that is the famous part where he screeches "Die!" like Skeletor. Setting aside the hilarity of this situation, with his opponent up against the wall like this, there is no such need for a large wind-up swing, especially being this close quarters and leaving himself undefended like this. That being said, odds are that a katana shouldn't be able to penetrate the chainmail coif that it looks like this knight is wearing. But armor isn't real in this world, and in that case, it was an extremely bold move to put the only thing that you could defend yourself with behind your back and then leave yourself to be stabbed. Essentially, Skeletor here deserved to die. Next we have a Warlord Berserker mix running up and picking a fight with a Warden. This exchange is probably one of the best ones in the entire video. I'll let it play out first and then I'll cover what happens. Alright, the Warden attacks first, the Warzerker dodges, the Warzerker attacks second, the Warden dodges, then he proceeds to do a follow-up strike, which is then parried and, from the close quarters, retaliates with a pommel strike to the face. While the Warden has the upper hand, he performs a quick slash to the enemy to send them back. The finishing blow is then stopped by the ultimate minion who sacrifices himself to defend the Warzerker. Then we get some close-up shots and heavy breathing for a bit. We unfortunately don't get to see what happens to the Warzerker and the ultimate minion, but we do get to cut back to the Warden, who is fighting Samurai now for some reason. Guy can't catch a break. He is fighting what I can only assume to be a minion, otherwise the almighty katana should have been able to cut through his measly hardened steel armor with ease. But it didn't, so he gets absolutely destroyed as his head pops off like a bottle cap. He then gets to fight a real Orochi and does the most obvious and telegraphed swing ever. Don't know why all Wardens fighting Orochis in this video do this, but that's just how it is. After that clash, the Orochi throws out a swing similar to the Orochi zone attack, but it just straight whiffs. Like, the Orochi was nowhere close to making contact. The Warden sees his opening and just decides to give him a good bonk. Then we see what probably sold the game to a lot of people who saw this trailer a long time ago. I know I always remembered it. It was the inverting the sword to strike him with the guard, also known as the Mordhau. The Mordhau is actually more often portrayed as a pommel strike rather than an actual strike with the guard, but I think that there's a lot of conjecture in that area and that there's a lot of debate as well, which is not the time for this video. Then we pan out to get a shot of their castle, presumably getting siege and the siege engine blowing up. It's interesting to think that this was essentially in the first trailer and how long it took for them to add Breach into the game. We get more panning shots of the environments and the other heroes when it then zooms into the Vikings for a bit, and we get a good look at the Spangenhelm guy, and we get to see that he's using an axe and a center grip shield. Gee, that would sure be neat to have in the game, huh, Yubi? Also, we get to see what is presumably the warlord with Raider's axe, and he's wearing a full coat of plates, and the others around him are wearing more armor as well. Every single one is wearing a helmet, probably the most important armor piece. Gee, this is really neat, Yubi. I hope we can continue to see more of these helmets and protection for the heroes who plan on fighting on the battlefield, Yubi. I hope that this game continues to immerse us on this universe that you have built and I don't have to consistently suspend my disbelief for the sake of why someone would go on a battlefield without a form of protection on, Yubi. It then goes on to show us the 4 knights at the end. We have a warden with a plate cuirass, a conqueror who's actually in full armor, and another warden who's wearing a full plate cuirass but in a different style and on a female version. Wow, these are sure a lot of cool armor designs, Yubi. I can't wait to use these on my wardens in the full game, Yubi. Obvious sarcasm aside, I find it interesting that there are very obviously designs taken from the trailer and added to the final release of the game. My question is, why weren't they all added? time constraints, maybe, but on launch there are pretty much only 4 variants of armor per hero, and then those variants are just rehashed ad nauseum. So with the original roster, that means there's only 48 truly unique armor, and saying that they're all truly unique is a stretch to begin with. Anyways, that's about it for this one. Hopefully you guys didn't take most of my sarcasm or bullshittery too seriously. This is pretty much just like the last one, made entirely for entertainment, because I thought it would be fun, and it was pretty fun seeing all the comments that we had on the previous video as well. This trailer was very short, so although it goes fast, I think that we covered most of the interesting stuff to talk about. Thank you to my YouTube members for supporting the videos I make. If you like this video, hitting the like button gets this video to others. If you want to keep seeing more videos like this, subscribing and hitting the bell icon is the best for keeping up to date with my irregular schedule. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or old For Honor marketing stuff that you want to share, go ahead and leave it down below. As always, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.